Let's see if I can freestyle a quick title to the third episode right here, right now. I don't want to skip too far ahead. I want to stay in those early formative years. All right. Here we go. It's come to me. Composure. Third episode. This timeline is year 5. So I don't know how old you are when you're in year 5. Maybe like 9 or 10, around that. And so I grew up in Canberra. I went to Gold Creek Primary School. It's a public school. It was a couple of k's from home. We used to walk, ride our bikes to school. Can't really complain with the school. A little bit on the stingy side, but got it done. Good school camps. Not a bad school. Went there from kindergarten to year 10. There was like a primary school here and then the high school was next to it. But where this story begins, year 5. We had this performance that was a big deal at the end of every year 5's time at primary school. It wasn't Wakakiri, which is kind of like a dance performance where schools would do like a theatrical performance and go and verse other schools, but it was kind of like Wakakiri. And for the second semester, our final semester of year 5, we'd have an hour or two per week where our class would get together and we'd either practice like singing a song or like doing like a group dance. And at the end of the year, all the different year 5 classes came together and performed in front of hundreds of parents and friends and everything. And it was a really big deal. I know it sounds kind of lame, but back then we were like, yeah, this is going to be cool. I think I was in the choir back in year 5 too, because all the girls were in there. But anyways, back to the story. It was time for us to start deciding what our class was going to submit into this major performance. Each class, I think there was like 4 classes, had a 3-minute time slot to pick a song and decide what they were going to put forward. And there was also like there was probably like 7 or 8 3 to 5 minute performances that merged together into like a 45-minute hour extravaganza. And essentially pretty much half of the time slots were like a full 20 to 30 group presence up on the stage. And our teacher had this great idea to get 3 of us boys to sing a song. It was Tom Jones, It's Not Unusual. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. Yeah, can't sing. Couldn't sing back then either. You probably don't know that song, but I guarantee your parents will, or, most of them. Absolute classic song. I knew it through Dad. And so she wanted us 3 boys to sing this song up in front of hundreds of people. This is year 5, 9 or 10 years old. And then she got all the girls in the class to be down on the side of the stage, and they were going to get undies and G-strings and bras and flick them up to us on the stage. And we were up there wearing like tight clothes, performing and stuff. And I'm like, that sounds sick. I'll do that with my 2 best mates. This will be mad. And we practiced the first couple sessions, and after the second session, she like politely asked one of the boys to get out of the group. Yeah, so after the second practice session, she essentially, thinking about it now, manipulated one of the students into not being in the performance because he wasn't charismatic enough. And then a few sessions in, it was just me and my best mate, Matt, left. And I'm like, sick, still doing this together. This is going to be great. And then somehow it turned into just me being up there. And he wasn't in the group either. So it went from being like 3 of us to just me. And then I think once she realized that I couldn't sing that well, I went from singing to lip syncing. And the focus was on the theatrical dancing and performance. And this all sounded good on paper. I'm like, yeah, I'll be center of attention. Let's do it. Practiced. All that went really well. These cars kept coming by. Fuck me. Note to self, pick a quieter location next time. So annoying when you're like in the flow telling a story and then a car comes around and ruins the audio. So I've got to pause and just wait for him to drive off. Where was I again? So all the practice went really well. I was like, okay, I can do this by myself. This is going to be sweet. The evening for the performance came around a whole lot quicker than I expected. We didn't get to practice as much as I thought. And all of a sudden, I wasn't so sure about the whole idea. I remember walking into the school gymnasium and I'd never seen it full with people before in the 5 years that I'd been at the school. Like hundreds of parents. All of the kids in my year group, their siblings were there with the parents. Like it was chockers. And I was the only person in our year group that had to perform solo on stage in front of everyone. The second smallest group had like half a dozen people in it and they were like proper dancers. And then the rest were pretty much full groups on stage performing. So it kind of felt like, one man show, this guy must be good. And I'm like, fuck, what have I signed up for? This is ridiculous. And to make things even worse, Tom Jones, he used to dress pretty outlandish, like very like tight clothing. And I think he might have worn like tight pants and like flares. And so my teacher tried to dress me up like Tom Jones. And so I'm looking like, little flamboyant year 5 pubescent boy up on stage. And I'm like, this is social suicide. I remember 10 minutes before I was due to get on stage, I went out for a piss and I bumped into my dad out there and I just started crying. I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going through with this. What? I'm not doing it. Go get my teacher. Tell her that I'm not doing it. And he went and got my teacher, Mrs. G. She was a proper G unit, like mad bitch. She comes out, sees me distressed, sees me fucking distraught, crying my eyes out. And she just went to work. She's like, come on, Benny, you can do this. You've practiced. It gave me like Coach Carter pump up talk of a lifetime. All of a sudden, my chest is sticking out, wiping the tears away. The composure came over me like a wave. But I was still second guessing the whole thing. Right up until It's Not Unusual by Tom Jones came on. I was second guessing, do I go? Do I not? And then, I was just like, far out. Like, no one can fault you if you go out and have a crack. So I didn't have to sing, I had to lip sync, and I just had to bring the energy. And that's what I did. I couldn't tell you what sort of dance moves I was doing back then. Got no idea. I still have fuck all dance moves. But I remember giving it a red hot crack. And I remember the girls in my class just like stoked. They were like throwing like G-strings and bras up at me. Like, how inappropriate is that? Will that shit slide these days? I don't think so. But somehow back then it did. And didn't have social suicide after all. Couldn't have went any better, really. Well, at least that's how it felt. It might be a different perspective from some of the parents on the sidelines watching. Oh man, I swear, one of my friend's parents filmed the thing, and I've been trying to dig deep into the archives and think, who was it? Because can you imagine digging up that? On one hand, I'm like, yeah, dig it up, that'd be a good laugh. And on the other, I'm like, I hope that thing never fucking surfaces. But I have asked a few people and no luck so far. But if I do ever dig that up, I might have to chuck it up just for a laugh. So I guess the reason why that one feels like such an important story is because that was one of the first times I really remember having to test myself and just throw myself in the deep end. Like, there was plenty of other like stories and circumstances building up to that where I was under pressure and had to be composed, like running races and important sporting events and like soccer grand finals and all that sort of stuff. But this wasn't as much of a physical battle as it was mental. And I genuinely think if I'd pulled the pin on that back then, it would have slowly but surely set me down a different path. Even though back then it would have only been 1 degree off my trajectory and it would have felt like just a minor little hiccup. But then over the course of the next 10 or 20 years, every time an opportunity came up like that where I had to make a decision, yay or nay, I feel like it may have steered me down that path of least resistance, and that's not where the growth is. There's been multiple things that have popped up in my life since, and I've thought back, this isn't going to be anywhere near as embarrassing as going on and performing in front of hundreds of people, lip syncing a song. And so, yeah, we get thrown in these situations where we got to fight or flight. And I'm telling you, I think it's definitely worth going down swinging, even though it seems like it's the worst thing in the world at the time. Looking back on it, it might just be a good story. So yeah, episode number 3, Composure. I'm not even going to try do a 4th. Maybe I'll just try to think of the name of the 4th, because like, just been talking shit for like 45 minutes. Oh my God. When I press record, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to say. And now I've been blabbering on for like 45 minutes straight. I really need to wrap it up. Super dry mouth. Got to piss.